Do you know Auntie Emily Family of missing woman wants help from Yukoners? 10 years ago, beloved Auntie Emily vanished from her rural home on Kawacatoose First Nation land, about 25 kilometers north of Quinton, Sask. Today, her family is still looking for answers on her sudden disappearance, but is also looking for friends and strangers to come forward with stories and photos of Emily Osmond during her time in Yukon. "We want to build her life story," said Hazel Buffalo Robe, a niece of Osmond's who lives in Yukon. "It would be for people to understand the full breadth of her life. She's not just a missing Aboriginal woman. She had a life, and we want to honor that life." Osmond moved to the territory in the 1960s because her then-husband Jerry Osmond was posted there with the military. She left sometime in the late 1970s after splitting with her husband, says Buffalo Robe. Jerry Osmond and Emily Osmond on their wedding day. The two moved to Yukon after Jerry got posted there with the Canadian Forces. They split in the late 1970s. Submitted by Hazel Buffalo Robe and other family members are planning to take their collection of stories about Osmond's life and a photo montage to the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls national inquiry hearings in Saskatoon on November 20th. "I want to be able to highlight her life as opposed to focusing on the trauma and the heartache that she's disappeared," said Buffalo Robe. Osmond was 78 years old when she was last seen by a man who helped her chop wood on September 9, 2007. On a calendar where she used to keep track of her medication, the days were marked off until September 13, 2007. Her family reported her missing a week later. Myrna LaPlante says she remembers the alarming call she got at work on September 20th of that year. "My sisters phoned me and said, 'Auntie Emily is missing,' and I said, 'What do you mean she's missing?'" recalled LaPlante. LaPlante said she left work that day and helped search for her aunt for a week straight. A week turned into a decade, with no sign of Osmond. "We've been on this journey for the last 10 years," said LaPlante. "What do we know to date? She's not there. She has not been found. There has been no new leads." Emily Osmond in Prince Rupert, BC, during Christmas of 1981. Osmond has family in BC, Yukon, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario. Submitted by Hazel Buffalo Robe. Back in 2009, Saskatchewan RCMP Sergeant James Morton told CBC News that Osmond's case was really strange, noting that nothing seemed to be missing from her home and there seemed to be no indication of foul play. "It's really difficult to understand what might have happened to her. Emily just disappeared," said Morton at the time. LaPlante said she got a call from the RCMP about a week after the first national inquiry hearings in Whitehorse last May. She said the officer on the phone said Osmond's file was still open and would remain that way. CBC News contacted Saskatchewan RCMP for comment on Osmond's case, but has not yet received a response. LaPlante said police and family exhausted as many search options as possible within the first few years. Then, in 2011, the family's attention turned to her missing nephew, Cody Ridge Wolf. "There's been no resolution on either case," said LaPlante. Linda Silverfox was one of Osmond's foster children. Silverfox said the loving Osmond raised her nieces, nephews and foster kids as her own. "I don't even know how she did it, raising all these kids, working 2 jobs, keeping her home clean," said Silverfox. Silverfox described her foster mom as a very smart woman and a hard worker who was involved with Yukon's Aboriginal Women's Council at the time. Osmond, a chef by trade, was a cook at a number of restaurants during her time in Whitehorse. She owned a few cafes in town, from one inside Quinton Mall to another at the top of 2 Mile Hill, called Emily's Country Kitchen, according to her family. Osmond, far left, was a chef by trade. She worked as a cook in several restaurants in Whitehorse and owned a few cafes in town. Submitted by Hazel Buffalo Robe, but Osmond also loved being in nature. She had a love for animals, particularly cats and dogs. She enjoyed things going for drives. "We'd collect driftwood and those lava rocks that are down by the Yukon River," Silverfox recalled. Silver Fox is also going to the MMIWG hearings this month to share Osmond's story. Emily Osmond vanished in 2007 from her rural home in Kawacatoose First Nation land, about 25 kilometers north of Quinton, Sask. Submitted by Hazel Buffalo Robe, I would like for her to be remembered for all the gifts and talents and strengths that